Welcome to part 4. This is the last part of professionalism and standards, and it's dedicated to health. Health is a very broad topic with many parts to it. Health has been defined by the World Health Organization as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of a disease or infirmary. What I really like about this definition is it leaves a little open to interpretation, as each one of us would describe health a little differently. What I think of as healthy may be totally unhealthy to somebody else. And our vision of health comes from our own values and beliefs and what our family and culture say and what society says about health. Globally, we measure health by looking at morbidity, how frequently a disease occurs, and mortality, the number of deaths from a disease. This data is very important for researchers who study diseases and treatments and cures. In addition to health, we also have wellness, disease, and illness. And much like health, these definitions can be different from person to person. Wellness is defined as an active state of being healthy by living a lifestyle promoting good physical, mental, and emotional health. Some people equate wellness and health. Disease is defined as a pathological change in structure or functioning of the body or mind. Illness is the unique response of a person to a disease or an abnormal process involving changed level of functioning. When it comes to diseases and illnesses, two people can have the same disease or illness and feel there are very different levels of disease or illness severity. Just like some people had asymptomatic COVID and some people died from it. Same disease, different severity levels. Illnesses can be classified in two different ways, acute or chronic. An acute illness generally has a rapid onset of symptoms and lasts only a relatively short time. Examples of acute illness can be appendicitis, pneumonia, diarrhea, or the common cold. Chronic illnesses are usually slower on onset, sometimes with periods of remission and exacerbation, permanent damage, or could be caused by irreversible alterations in a normal state, and chronic illness usually requires long periods of support. There are many factors that affect our health. Some of them we can change, we call those modifiable factors, and some we cannot. Those are non-modifiable. Modifiable and non-modifiable factors are intertwined in the 6 dimensions of health. The first dimension is the physical dimension. This dimension comprises a person's genetics, age, developmental level, race, and gender. These are all non-modifiable, meaning a person cannot change these. The second dimension is the emotional dimension. This is how the mind affects the body's function and responses to body conditions. For some people, this is modifiable. People can absolutely change their mindset positively or negatively to affect their health. But for some people, if they have a mental illness, they may not be able to change their mindset to positively affect their health. The third dimension is the intellectual dimension. This is where cognitive abilities, educational background, and past experiences affect health. This also has some aspects that may be modifiable, but it's very person-specific and cannot be deemed fully modifiable. A big part of this dimension is the health literacy, which is how much a person knows about health and medication and disease processes. The fourth dimension of health is the environmental dimension. This dimension is where a person's housing, sanitation, climate, pollution of air, water, food affects their health. Again, some of these may be modifiable and some may not. Fun fact, I'm from Pennsylvania. That climate has a higher incidence of multiple sclerosis than any other part of the country. Scientists aren't sure why, but it could be part of the environment. There are a lot of nuclear power plants back east. The fifth dimension is the social cultural dimension. This is where a person's economic level, lifestyle, family, and culture affects their health. Again, some of these could be modifiable. And the last dimension is the spiritual dimension. This is how a person's spiritual beliefs and values affect their health. We know that some religions have diet restrictions and others have fasting requirements, and all of these do affect health. I would say that these could be modifiable, but sometimes it's not always a positive change for some people. The factors of health lead us to health disparities. Health disparities are when a particular type of health difference is closely linked with social, economic, and/or environmental disadvantage. Health disparities are influenced by race, gender, age, education level, disability, sexual orientation, access to healthcare, and even someone's ability to afford health insurance. There are a lot of health disparities in America. Some of them are shocking. A major one is that Black people do not feel pain. This notion started during slavery when a medical doctor tortured slave women to see how much pain they could endure. When the women didn't scream out in pain because they had been beaten their entire lives and knew they were not allowed to scream, the medical provider determined that the silence meant they didn't feel pain. This is still thought of today, and Blacks' pain is not taken seriously, and there are devastating consequences to this. Don't believe me? Serena Williams almost died after birth because the nurses did not believe she was really having chest pain. A nurse finally believed her, and they discovered that she had a blood clot in her lungs that almost killed her. Serena Williams is not alone. This happens every day in America to non-white races. As much as we don't want to believe it, there's a lot of unconscious bias in healthcare. Whether it causes the institution you work in or where you are geographically, racism and bias exists. This causes health disparities and really devastates entire groups of people. As nurses, we need to treat every single person the same. We are all human beings and we all deserve to be cared for with the same level of attention, regardless of the color of our skin, religion, who we love, who we vote for, our age, and where we live and work. As nurses, we do a lot of education. You didn't know you were going to school to teach, did you? Some of the things we teach our patients is how to prevent illness, how to decrease severity of illnesses, and how to promote and restore health. Nurses also teach community classes such as prenatal care classes, disease support classes, and even wellness and stress reduction classes. Nurses also give out a lot of health education materials to patients and help patients find community resources such as support groups, clinics, and chemical dependency programs. While we do all of this, our focus is always the person in front of us. We tailor our education so it's specific for them, their illness, and what they are able to do. We maximize their strengths and potentials to help them achieve the goal they want with their illness and their disease. Why do we do all of this? Because America is full of people with chronic diseases. Chronic diseases account for 7 out of 10 of the leading causes of death. Nearly half of all adults have one chronic condition, and 600 million people have 2 or more. There are 3 levels of health prevention: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Primary is directed towards promoting health and preventing the development of disease processes or injury. This is where we work with people on their modifiable risk factors like diet change, smoking cessation, and where annual physicals and immunizations are found. This also includes home safety and meditation and yoga. Secondary prevention is focused on screening for early detection of diseases with prompt diagnosis and treatment. This would include mammograms, vision screenings, blood pressure screenings, colonoscopies, and our 6-month dental checkups. Tertiary prevention begins after an illness is diagnosed and treated with the goal of reducing disability and helping rehabilitate patients to a maximum level of functioning. This could include diabetic education, physical therapy, and support groups for stroke and cancer patients. So do you guys remember back to Psych 101 when you learned about Maslow's hierarchy? Guess what? Everything we do as nurses is affected by Maslow. Preventing illness and restoring health cannot occur if our patients' physiological needs are not met. Sometimes we cannot even begin to teach our patients until they are fed and feel safe. This is something that is very important to emergency room nurses who take care of homeless people. We can do everything we can. We can educate all day long, but homeless people do not have the basic physiological and safety needs met. There is no way we can get them to understand how to care for themselves until those needs are met. Until we can meet those needs, they will continue to have health issues, and you better believe that the ED staff forgets this, which causes health disparities. So one thing we have in America is Healthy People 2030. This is a national program aimed at improving health and well-being in America. There are many goals for 2023, including helping people be free of preventable disease, disability, injury, addiction, and premature death. Healthy People 2030 also works to eliminate health disparities, achieve health equity, and attain health literacy to improve the health and well-being of all. I added the website link so you can go and look more at what's occurring to make our nation healthier. So one of the really nice things about the times we live in right now is we have so much technology at our fingertips. There are a lot of health websites, chat groups, support groups, apps, and watches that help manage health. As nurses, we need to remind our patients to use scholarly websites and to get information and not to use TikTok. Social media has its place, but health education is not always accurate online. You have come to the end of part 4, which is also the end of this PowerPoint presentation.